Sri Sri Anandamayi Mat ki Jai. Shyamacharan Babu. We hear that sages can take over the sufferings of other people. Mataji. This is true. Sages can mitigate the sufferings of other people in three ways. They can take the suffering upon themselves and thus relieve the sufferer, or without taking those sufferings upon themselves, they may distribute and apportion them among some other persons. This lightens to some extent the intensity and acuteness of the suffering. Also, it may so happen that sages out of supreme grace can relieve an individual from all the consequences of his actions and restore him to life divine, which is his true self. But such incidents are rare. Hence, it is said that purification comes through suffering. Question: Mataji, how is it possible to distribute sufferings amongst others? This looks like sheer injustice. Mataji: No, there is nothing wrong in it. Sages would divide the sufferings only amongst those who are only too willing and anxious to share them. Shyamacharan Babu: Why should I allow a sage to bear my cross? Mataji: That is well said. A bhakta would speak in this way. A devotee would not have the object of his devotion share his sufferings. He would rather bear his own cross. But sometimes such sufferings are too much for him, and his only concern then becomes how to get rid of them. In such cases, only the question of mitigation of extenuation arises. With me, however, everything has happened spontaneously. I have seen that this body has taken upon itself the sufferings of others, not purposely, but without an effort of the will. Once I went to see a patient who was attacked by a severe type of dysentery. On my return, I found myself attacked by that very disease. I had frequent motions and passed blood and mucus. This went on for 12 hours. Then I was all right again. For some time something like a blizzard passed over this body. Then everything was quiet. The man who had the original attack came round as soon as this body had the disease. At another time, this body took upon itself the fever from which another person had been suffering. Every third or fourth day, I used to have a violent paroxysm of fever which lasted for 3 hours. The temperature shot up to 103 degree or 104 degree. We were then at Cox's Bazar. The nature of the fever convinced Deenbandhu Babu that it was nothing but malaria. Bholanath was of the same opinion and was anxious to administer quinine, but I flatly refused to take the drug. Deenbandhu Babu had an almost paternal affection for this body, which used to address him as father. He often would humor me by complying with my requests. Though a Brahmin himself, he had given up the Brahminical practice of uttering Gayatri Mantra, but I induced him to resume it. However, when he found me suffering from repeated paroxysms of fever, he lost all patience and wrathfully declared, "These devotees have conspired to kill my daughter. I won't listen to anybody. I intend to administer by force, if necessary, quinine this very night. I heard all this, but said nothing. In the afternoon, this body fell into a trance-like condition. True to his words, Deenbandhu Babu came with quinine at night. Seeing me in a state of unconsciousness, he shook me hard. Though his shaking and hustling made me open my eyes, they remained unmoved in a fixed stare. This pricked his curiosity. He examined me by focusing the light of an electric torch on my eyes and even thrusting his finger into them to see whether they would wink. When all his endeavors failed to restore me to a state of consciousness, he gave up the attempt to administer quinine that night. But he could not abandon the idea of trying the drug on me. Of course, I knew how long the fever was to last, so I told him that if the fever persisted beyond a certain period, I would take the medicine. But I did not take it, because within the specified period I was all right. Sri Sri Anandamayi Mat Ki Jai.